Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome back to our group. We are from the 7th group. So here, we do apologize because we do discussion without calling each member. We make a video one by one as to discuss these questions. So without further ado, let's start it. Well, I will answer the question number 1. The question number 1, why we should learn the genesis of discourse analysis. But before I'm going to mention the reasons why we have to learn the genesis of discourse analysis, first we have to know what is the genesis. The genesis is defined as the origin of the beginning of something, based on the Merriam-Webster Online Dictionary. Guys, there is origin or the beginning of something. So I think this is similar of historical. So I can conclude that genesis, it means that the historical. So why we have to learn about a historical of discourse analysis? Well, the historical or the origin of discourse analysis presented in general and related to linguistics. Here, I will explain regarding linguistic discipline, because as we know that there are many disciplines to learn about discourse analysis. We have to learn the historical of discourse analysis. First, it is universally known that discourse analysis is a primarily linguistic study which examines the use of language by its native population orally. The genesis of discourse analysis, it means that you learn about the theory of discourse analysis, start from the history or the origin of discourse analysis. Well, I will answer the question number 2 regarding, do you agree with saying that the development of discourse analysis theory is strongly influenced by the development of linguistic theories? This is discourse analysis theory with development of linguistic theory. Yes, based on the explanation about discourse analysis theory is strongly influenced by the development of linguistic theories. It could even be said that linguistic theory is the one that gives rise to the theory of discourse analysis. So both of theory of discourse analysis theory and development of linguistic theory has influenced. Well, to see the process how discourse analysis come into being, the study of linguistics, it helps we examine the development of linguistic theories, since this cannot be separated from the genesis of discourse analysis. And then linguistic theories have undergone 3 stages of development. The first, traditional grammar. The second, structuralism. And the third, functionalism. So both those are developed like ranks which mutually support to give opportunities for the emergence of discourse analysis as a theory. To conclude the explanation, 3 stages of development theories mutually support to give opportunities for discourse analysis as a theory: traditional grammar, structuralism, and functionalism. So for the more explanation, it will be explained for the next speaker.
So for this time, I will answer the point number 3. The first is, what is traditional grammar theory? So the answer is, according to Smith, traditional grammar theory is the study of the structure as well as the formation of words, morphology, and sentence in text, usually without much reference to sounds and meaning. So we can conclude from the Smith that there are two concerns in traditional grammar. The first is about morphology and the second is about the syntax. Next question, what is the main principle of the theory? The main principle promoted by the theory is that the grammars in this tradition reflects the prescriptive view, and that one dialect or variety of a language is to be valued more highly than others and should be the norms for all speakers of the language. So for the next, what do teachers who adopt the principle do in teaching a language? For in teaching a language, teacher must make rules of a certain language as an absolute reference, which can be allowed all of the learners of language, and they are only allowed to speak according in the patterns of sounds, words, sentence structures of the search language. So the next question is, what are the product of this theory? The product of this theory, the rules emphasize some important things such as standards of spelling, grammar of syntax, or rules of what are considered to be socially and politically correct.
Yeah.
The next is, what is the main shortcoming of this theory? The main shortcoming of this theory is the prescriptive approach. Many linguists believe that teaching a language by using this approach was not strong enough to develop learners' language knowledge and skills because the focus was limited to the referred language, and which consequently made the language knowledge of the learners isolated by components of the standard language. The realizing the shortcoming, the linguist then suggests of the standard language English teacher to use descriptive approach instead of prescriptive approach. For the last question, what are grammar translation method and its relation to traditional grammar theory? So for the answer is, there are 6 points about the grammar translation method. The first is, the primary goal of a foreign language teaching is to read text written in the foreign language but not oral language. The second is, the dominant activity in the classroom is to translate that foreign language into one's mother tongue. Good translation become a decisive measurement to judge learners' success in foreign language study. The third is, learners take decades to be able to communicate in the foreign language because oral language skill is not the target of this teaching method. The fourth is, teacher dominate the class while learners are required to write down every detail of information given by the teachers. The fifth is, learners are encouraged to grasp language form, especially in pronunciation, vocabulary, and the mainly grammar correctly. And the last method is, teachers are required to speak in the foreign language during the class and to correct every single error of language forms made by the learners.
Okay, I will answer the question of number 4. There are 6 questions in number 4. For the first question is about what is structural theory. structuralism theory, and then what does the Saussure says about structure of language. Structuralism theory is a theory that focuses on examining language as a static system interconnected units. This theory was born after some linguists realized shortcoming about previous theory. It means that some linguists realized the shortcoming of the traditional grammar theory. The term structuralism itself was produced first by Ferdinand de Saussure, which is the linguist from Swiss who developed a branch linguistic theory called structural linguistics through his work course in general linguistics that published in 1916. De Saussure argued that language was formed by sign which finally produced parole, speech or utterance. Question of number 2. The next is the second question. The question of number 2 is about what are the main principles of the theory. What are the main principles of the theory? There are three principles of structuralism theory. The first is structuralism puts spoken language to be first place and written language in the second place. The second is structuralism employs descriptive approach which allow learners try to find the unconscious rules that people follow when they say things like sentence without any prescribed rules in books to follow. And then the last is structuralism. Structuralism requires learners to learn language skill as a unified system as a whole. The third question is about what is informant method and what is what is its relationship to the structuralism theory. Informant method is also called as a duolingual method. It was called informant since it employed a native speaker of the language called as the informant who served as a source of phrase, vocabulary, and who provided sentence for imitation. The relationship between informant method and structuralism theory is very clear. This is because of informant method can help the learners in learning the language. It means the informant method can help the learners in learning the language structure. With the application of the method, learners are expected to be able to speak a foreign language in accordance with the correct structure of language. Okay, the next question is about what the what are the characteristics of the method. What are the what are characteristics of the method? The characteristic of the method is consists of the first, a language is what its native speakers say, not what someone thinks they ought to say. And then the second is drilling is a primary activity in the classroom. The third is learning a foreign language is in need of habit using the language, which is initiated by mimicking, repeating the use of language component continuously until the learner feel natural to express everything they have learned in the foreign language. The fourth is the teacher have to lead his his learners to practice the same sentence over and over again to gain familiarity with the sentence. Uh, the the fifth is teacher's language is a model for the learners to imitate. And then the sixth is communication skill. So communication skill will be attained after going through a long, boring, and repetitive process and rigorous drills. The next question is question of number Number 5, the question is about what is the main shortcoming of this theory. One of the shortcomings of structuralism theory is the method of teaching that developed on the structuralism theory doesn't really emphasize the teaching of culture in language teaching. The culture aspect of the language is taught integrated with the process of learning the learning the other components the target language. The last question is about what is error analysis and what its relation to the structuralism theory. Error analysis is an analysis conducted by the teacher to correct learners' error or mistake when they speaking. Where when the teacher discovers an error, the teacher must correct the learner's error. It means that when teacher find a learner's error, the teacher obligated to correct learner's error. The relationship between error analysis and structuralism theory is very related because in the structuralism era, error analysis began to be intensively developed. It is done solely to provide information to teachers about the forms error often made by learners.
Well, thank you so much for the second opportunity that has given to me. Now I would like to answer the question number 5. The question is about functionalism is known as an approach to language study that is concerned with studying the function performed by language use. And the second question is about according to Himes said that linguistic theory needed to seem a part of more general theory incorporating communication and culture. And then, according to Chomsky's view of competence is eventually recognized as linguistic competence which deal with abstract abilities speakers process that enable them to produce. Then, according to Chomsky's view of competence is eventually recognized as linguistic competence which deals with abstract ability speakers process that enable them to produce grammatically correct sentence in language. So that was my explanation. Thank you so much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.